In our previous episode, Lin had been breaking his own dungeon records like clockwork until something unexpected appeared before him. A secret realm revealed itself, and this very place belonged to the former head of Xiajing Academy from 600 years ago, in which he had turned his life's energy into this place before death. As we continued where we left off, suddenly a young man launched an attack on him. The strikes were powerful enough to push our boy back, yet the attacker showed no signs of letting up. He then unleashed a skill called Earth Splitter and swung his sword with terrifying force. Lin immediately fought back with his own bone spikes, which pierced straight through the man's body. As the man began to fade away, Lin figured this place wouldn't be so easy to conquer. After all, this was Zhang Yi's secret realm. He then pressed on, wondering what would come next. Soon enough, another figure stepped into view. Same weapon, same clothes. But this one spoke. He warned that to move forward, Lin must either kill him or be killed, while revealing himself to be a level 49 divine swordsman. However, Lin noticed the man had had extra star rings around his wrists. Learning from the earlier fight, Lin knew better than to go easy. He summoned his scythe and prepared himself. Curious about what lay at the end of this place, he used soul summoning, bringing forth the Soul Devourer Insect King. The big boy had the same attributes as before. However, Lin doesn't want to waste time here and remarks he should bypass the man entirely. But then, the man repeats his line again, kill or be killed, and slashes once more. The Insect King fired off a sonic attack, interrupting the spell and stunning the man just enough for Lin to leap past him in one clean motion. The man clutched his head, shouting that Lin couldn't escape, claiming he would make sure Lin stayed here forever. But the Insect King launched a follow-up attack, leaving the man no chance to pursue. Lin barely had time to catch his breath before another identical figure blocked his path. Again, same face, same gear, but now even more glowing rings floated around the wrists. The line was the same too, kill or be killed, but this one stood at level 59. Lin counted the rings, and just as expected, another pair of star rings added to the tally. Still unwilling to waste time, he summoned once more, this time calling forth the Earth Dragon God. This big boy stays level 55, however. It doubles the stats of the Insect King. The massive creature erupted from beneath the earth. For the first time, the man actually looked shocked and surprised to see an Earth Dragon God here. When the big boy struck, veins bulged on the man's forehead, sweat broke across his face. Meanwhile, Lin calmly walked past him and tells the dragon this fight was in its hands now. The big boy let out a roar, as if to say it understood. Lin kept moving forward, and before long a village came into view. For a moment he wonders if this might finally be the end, but deep down he already suspects the answer. And just as expected, the man appears again. Same look, same dialogue, but this time he's level 65. As Lin checks, he sees another pair of glowing rings on the guy's arms. He figures this must be the last one. Not wasting any time, he summons his entire skeleton army, complete with the undead general. He immediately boosts them with mighty soldiers, giving the skellies a massive power-up. The man doesn't flinch. He leaps straight at Lin, charging into a sea of skeletons like it's nothing. Then the rings around his arm light up, and suddenly, behind him, an army of identical clones appears out of nowhere. That catches Lin off guard, and he mutters that this skill feels a bit unfair because even his soul flame can't even lock onto the real one anymore. Still, the skellies don't hesitate. Explosions erupt all around, and arrows rain down endlessly. But even with all the chaos, the opposing side has numbers too. As the fight went on, the clones up front started getting wiped out, and the man retreated momentarily. Then he raises a hand and unleashes Sword Energy Swamp. A surge of sword energy blasts through the air, flinging back the charging skeletal berserkers. Right after he lifts his blade and casts another skill called Sweeping Slash. A massive sword materializes in the sky, and in the next second it comes crashing down straight toward Lin. That sword strike was no joke. The impact that followed was brutal. The strike shattered Lin's skeletal armor in an instant. Cracks started spreading across the skeleton soldiers, but thanks to Lin's defensive skills, they held their ground. And he remarks that unless it was an attack on the level of a demon lord, he wouldn't go down that easily. The undead general then raised his scepter and cast Legion Heal. In just a few seconds, the skeletons were back to normal. Lin then threw down a withering curse as massive red shackles wrapped tightly around the greatsword, locking it in place. Meanwhile, a skull icon appeared above its head, marking it. Before the man could react or cleanse the skill, Lin hit him with Soul Flame, slamming it right onto his head. Slowly, the man's form started rising out of the sword. Holding his head, he looked at Lin, shocked as he hadn't expected his mighty sweeping slash to be broken like that. Suddenly, a few elemental blasts exploded around him, sending him flying. He crashed hard into the ground, tearing up the ground beneath him, right after the skeletal berserkers charged in, hacking away without mercy. In a blink, the massive sword faded into nothing, and the level 69 divine swordsman vanished with it. By then, he notes both of his big boys should have finished their battles too, and believes there should be no enemies left. He then stepped into the village, which now looked quiet and peaceful. While having the skeletons return back into the summoning space, Lin made his way to a simple hut. It didn't look any different from the rest, but something inside was giving off some sort of energy. Curious, he slowly approached and pushed the door open. Inside, an old man sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. The room was plain, except for a single stick of incense burning in the corner. Lin recognized this man was none other than Jiang Yi, the former head of Xiajing Academy, or rather, his soul. The old man smiled and motioned for Lin to sit. Lin gave a respectful bow and sat across from him. Jiang Yi looked him over and quietly praised him, saying he'd done well. Lin, humble as ever, insisted he was still far behind compared to legends like Jiang Yi. But Jiang Yi waved that off and remarked that Lin was far more talented than he ever was at that age, and seeing someone like Lin gave him hope for the future of humanity. Lin continued the conversation, saying that while humanity hadn't wiped out the abyssal demons entirely, they had grown strong enough to stand against them. But then, to his surprise, Jiang Yi gave a small smile and said something no one had expected. He remarked that it's impossible to eliminate the abyssal demons. Matter of fact, he declared it was absolutely impossible. Lin couldn't wrap his head around what he just said, and pointed out that the strongest of the human race had already reached half a step into the supreme divine level. But Jiang Yi only told him that once Lin reached his level, then he'd understand exactly why he said what he did. Lin was confused because, from Jiang Yi's words, he realized what he thought he knew about the abyss might be way off. It became clear that Jiang Yi was aware of things even his teachers didn't know, and that meant the abyss might be far more dangerous than humanity believed. Still, it was obvious that when the time came, he'd understand on his own. Jiang Yi told him not to worry about that for now. He praised Lin again, saying not only did he pass the test, but he went far beyond his expectations. Then Jiang Yi brought out a few good-looking boxes and placed them on the table, saying he was about to make a deal with him. He then opened the first one, and inside was a severed finger. But it wasn't gruesome, rather looked quite delicate, almost like fine jade, so flawless it didn't seem real. When Lin used a detection spell, his eyes widened, because it was a god's severed finger. Jiang Yi quickly shut the box with a snap. He explains that while Lin can't use it yet, once he steps into the divine level, this finger will make his path much smoother, maybe even give him a shot at becoming supreme divine while claiming this was the reward he was offering. Lin then asked what he had to do in return. Jiang Yi opened the second box. This time there was a single pearl inside. He explained the deal by informing Lin he would have to take this pearl to the upper layer of the eternal trial ground and personally hand it over to the boss at the heart of the core region. Lin instantly suspected this had to do with the ancient dragon. Still, he didn't expect Jiang Yi's request to be tied to the creature. After thinking it over, he accepted, then stored both boxes in this storage space and promised to deliver the items himself. Jiang Yi smiled, satisfied, but tells Lin there was no rush. When Lin's power is strong enough, he can go, however, there's no need to risk it now. After all, he's waited over 600 years already, so a few more won't hurt. But Lin wanted to know why he was chosen, instead of handing this task to one of the stronger, divine-level professionals. Jiang Yi shook his head, saying those people weren't qualified to even talk to the dragon, and remarked they would just throw their lives away. But Lin, he says, is different, and believes Lin has the right to speak with it. By now, Jiang Yi's soul energy was fading. Before disappearing completely, he warned Lin to keep the contents of the box a secret, especially the severed finger. He emphasized the danger, explaining that the finger was far too tempting. Whether it was the abyss, the dragons, or even other humans, everyone would stop at nothing to get their hands on it. Lin gave his word, promising to be careful. Then, Jiang Yi's form vanished, and with it, the secret realm began to dim. A moment later, Lin was forcefully teleported out. He then wondered if he'd ever get the chance to see Jiang Yi again. Taking a deep breath, he decided he needed to visit his teachers. Meanwhile, back at the courtyard, White Divine was pacing, looking quite worried. No one could scan what was happening inside the secret realm, and he feared Lin might have run into trouble. Yan, meanwhile, tried to ease the tension and insisted the kid would be fine and tells him to have a little more faith in his student. Just then, a figure appeared out of thin air, and it was Lin. Both teachers lit up with relief and rushed over, asking him how it went. Lin slowly began recounting what had happened inside. As he spoke, he brought out the 2 boxes Jiang Yi had given him. He didn't think it was safe to keep them alone, and these 3 were the people he trusted most. Meng Anwen examined the items and was stunned by the pure energy coming from them. No wonder Jiang Yi said even divine-level professionals would fight over it. Lin also pointed out that the energy from the severed finger felt oddly similar to the killing aura around his teacher. Yan froze for a moment, like something had just clicked in his mind. Then suddenly he burst into laughter. He declared that Lin had just awakened him with a single comment, and now it didn't seem like his own path to becoming supreme divine was so far away after all. Hearing all of this, White Divine's expression turned serious, and he reasons that if Lin still has to return to the core region of the eternal trial ground, then he needs to start getting even stronger while he still has time. So White Divine laid out a new plan. He tells Lin it's time to enter the Divine Tower. He reasoned Lin had secured his entry a long time ago, the reward being the top national scholar. Basically, he had a one-time golden ticket into the tower, and now was the perfect moment to use it. Anyway, looks like our guy's about to dive headfirst into another massive trial. Who knows? Maybe we're in for some wild new power-ups.